Why the Anunnaki isn't mentioned in the Bible, Part 1. The Anunnaki, enigmatic deities from ancient Mesopotamian lore, have captured modern imaginations as gods, ancient astronauts, or powerful beings who once ruled over Earth. For those fascinated by mythology, history, and religion, one burning question often arises: why isn't the Anunnaki explicitly mentioned in the Bible? Given that both the Bible and the mythologies of ancient Sumer, Akkad, and Babylon arose in geographically neighboring regions, and sometimes during overlapping periods, it seems at first glance surprising that the Hebrew scriptures omit any direct reference to the Anunnaki. Yet, when we dig deeper into the historical, theological, and political context that birthed the Bible, the absence of the Anunnaki begins to make sense. This essay, the first part of a detailed series, explores the reasons behind this omission. By comparing ancient Mesopotamian beliefs with biblical traditions, we can understand how ancient peoples selected, adapted, or rejected neighboring mythologies to craft their own sacred narratives. Who were the Anunnaki? The Anunnaki, sometimes spelled Anuna, Anunnaku, or Anunnaki, were a group of deities in ancient Mesopotamian cultures, specifically Sumerian, Akkadian, Assyrian, and Babylonian traditions. The term Anunnaki can be translated loosely as those who from heaven came to earth, or offspring of Anu, the sky god. Their role varied depending on time and region. In early Sumerian myths, they were seen as gods of the underworld, connected with fate and justice. In Akkadian and later Babylonian mythology, they were associated with the heavens, judgment, and sometimes even rebellion against greater gods like Anu or Enlil. The Anunnaki were part of a complex pantheon. Anu, sky god, father of the Anunnaki Enlil, god of air and authority; Enki, god of water and wisdom; Inanna, Ishtar, goddess of love and war. In some versions, particularly the Babylonian Enuma Elish and various other myths, the Anunnaki were involved in creating humanity, enforcing divine laws, or meting out justice among mortals. Today, alternative theories and pseudo-historical narratives, popularized by writers like Zecharia Sitchin, suggest the Anunnaki were extraterrestrial beings who engineered humanity. While those interpretations are not considered scholarly mainstream, they do fuel the mystery of why such powerful beings aren't acknowledged in biblical texts. The formation of the Bible. Understanding why the Anunnaki aren't mentioned requires a look at how the Bible came to be. The Hebrew Bible, Tanakh, particularly the Torah, first 5 books, was compiled over centuries, roughly between the 12th century BCE and the 2nd century BCE. It reflects the cultural, political, and religious evolution of the ancient Israelites. Key factors: monotheism. Unlike their polytheistic neighbors, the Israelites gravitated towards monotheism, the belief in one sovereign God, YHWH. National identity. The Bible was as much about creating a distinct national and cultural identity as it was about religious doctrine. Exile and return, especially after the Babylonian exile, 6th century BCE, Hebrew leaders reasserted a strict focus on monotheism to preserve identity against foreign influence. Thus, when Israelite scribes were compiling sacred texts, they were intentionally distinguishing their beliefs from Mesopotamian and Egyptian, Canaanite, etc. religious traditions. In short, the Bible was designed not just to tell stories, but to draw a clear line between us, Israel, and them, everyone else. Mesopotamian cosmology versus biblical cosmology. Ancient Mesopotamian myths offer a rich, vivid cosmology filled with multiple gods, battling, scheming, and forming alliances. Humanity often appears as a secondary creation, made either to serve the gods or as an afterthought. Key characteristics of Mesopotamian cosmology. Polytheistic pantheon go. Why the Anunnaki isn't mentioned in the Bible, Part 2. In Part 1, we explored why the Hebrew Bible does not explicitly mention the Anunnaki, mainly due to a drive for monotheism and a desire to separate Israelite identity from surrounding pagan cultures. But direct omission doesn't mean complete erasure. Ancient memories are stubborn things. Ideas don't vanish overnight. They evolve, morph, and hide beneath new layers. While the name Anunnaki never appears in the biblical canon, echoes of their existence may linger in veiled references, rewritten myths, and shadowy figures scattered across sacred texts. In Part 2, we explore the hidden fingerprints of the Anunnaki legacy within the Bible and early Jewish literature, possible hidden references to Anunnaki. Several biblical elements might reflect distant memories of Anunnaki-like beings, albeit heavily reinterpreted. The Nephilim, Genesis 6. One of the Bible's most mysterious groups is the Nephilim, briefly mentioned in Genesis 6:1-4. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. Who are these sons of God, and who are the Nephilim? In ancient interpretations, including early Jewish writings, the sons of God are sometimes seen as divine or semi-divine beings who descended to earth, very similar to how the Anunnaki were described in Mesopotamian lore. The connection deepens. In Mesopotamian myth, gods descend to earth and interact with humanity, sometimes producing hybrid offspring. In Genesis, divine beings likewise descend and father powerful, abnormal humans. While the Bible moves quickly to the flood narrative, suggesting that these unions were a corruption, the basic idea of celestial beings meddling with humans aligns closely with Anunnaki myths. Key parallel: divine beings descending, mating with humans, and creating a hybrid race. The Watchers, Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish text, not part of the standard Bible but influential, expands the Genesis 6 account. Here, the Watchers, a group of angels, rebel by descending to earth, teaching humanity forbidden knowledge, weapons, magic, astrology, and fathering the Nephilim, monstrous giant hybrids. This story carries heavy Anunnaki themes: the descent of higher beings, the transmission of forbidden knowledge, similar to how some Anunnaki myths describe gods teaching humans skills like agriculture, metalwork, and law. Hybrid offspring who wreak havoc on Earth. The Watcher's narrative resonates with traditions of the Anunnaki, bringing knowledge but also causing disruption, ultimately leading to divine punishment. Key parallel: teachers from the heavens who break divine rules, divine council scenes in the Bible. In some biblical texts, God is portrayed not as ruling alone, but as presiding over a divine assembly or council. Example: God stands in the divine council. In the midst of the gods, he holds judgment. Psalm 82:1. This scene of a high god overseeing a council of subordinate divine beings closely resembles Mesopotamian myths, where Anu presides over the Anunnaki. Scholars propose that early Israelite religion may have included a belief in a divine council, later suppressed under strict monotheism, suggesting that echoes of the Anunnaki structure persisted even after theological reforms. Key parallel: a council of divine beings under a supreme ruler, the evolution from polytheism to monotheism. Many scholars believe that ancient Israelite religion evolved over time, from henotheism, worship of one god without denying others, to full monotheism. In early stages, Israelites acknowledged the existence of many gods, but chose YHWH as their national deity. Why the Anunnaki isn't mentioned in the Bible. Part 3: Modern Theories. In Parts 1 and 2, we explored how the Anunnaki were omitted from the Bible for theological, cultural, and historical reasons. Now we turn to a different kind of answer: the modern theories. Over the last 100 years, and especially after the 1970s, a new breed of writers and thinkers proposed a radical idea. The Anunnaki weren't just mythological gods. They were real extraterrestrial beings who intervened in human history. If these theories are true, even partially, it would make sense why the Bible avoids mentioning them. Because the Bible would be forced to confront the uncomfortable possibility that humanity's creators weren't divine in the traditional sense, but ancient aliens. In this part, we'll explore these modern theories and why, even under that lens, the Anunnaki couldn't find a home in the Bible. Modern Anunnaki theories. In the 20th and 21st centuries, the Anunnaki exploded into public imagination, thanks to a few key ideas. Ancient astronaut theory, popularized by writers like Erich von Däniken, Chariots of the Gods, 1968, and later expanded by Zecharia Sitchin. The ancient astronaut theory proposes ancient myths describe real events involving advanced beings from other planets. gods were misunderstood technology users, spaceships, energy weapons, genetic labs. Human civilization was kick-started by these beings. The Anunnaki, in this theory, are a race of advanced extraterrestrials who came from a distant planet, often said to be Nibiru, altered early human DNA to create Homo sapiens for labor, especially gold mining. Left Earth but promised to return, genetic engineering and creation of humans. According to Sitchin and others, early hominids, like Homo erectus, were genetically modified by the Anunnaki. Humanity is thus not solely the product of natural evolution or divine creation, but laboratory engineering. This stands in direct contrast to the Bible's story of Adam and Eve, where God breathes life into Adam and forms Eve from Adam's rib, emphasizing a spiritual, intentional, and moral act. In the Anunnaki theory, humanity's origin is technical and utilitarian, not moral, but functional. Forbidden knowledge. Another part of the Anunnaki narrative is that they gave humanity forbidden or premature knowledge, metallurgy, agriculture, astronomy, mathematics, long before humans would have naturally discovered it. This is echoed in myths like the serpent in Eden or the Watchers in the Book of Enoch. But under Anunnaki theory, it was real intervention, not metaphysical temptation. Zecharia Sitchin's influence. Zecharia Sitchin, 1920-2010, was arguably the most important figure in bringing the Anunnaki into modern conspiracy, pseudo-history, and alternative archaeology. In books like The 12th Planet, 1976, Sitchin argued, the Sumerian texts, when properly interpreted, describe actual extraterrestrial activity. Nibiru is a real planet with an elongated orbit that periodically approaches Earth. The Anunnaki came to Earth 450,000 years ago, seeking gold for atmosphere repairs. Humanity is a genetic slave species. Sitchin's influence cannot be overstated. His ideas popularized an entire industry of thought, from ancient aliens TV shows to online forums full of speculative theories. Yet his work has been widely criticized by scholars. His translations of Sumerian are often considered inaccurate. He blends mythology, astronomy, and imaginative fiction. No peer-reviewed Assyriologist or Sumerologist has supported his interpretations. Still, among believers in the ancient astronaut theory, Sitchin remains a prophet. Why the Anunnaki can't fit in the Bible, according to modern theories. If we accept even some of the ancient astronaut ideas, it becomes even more understandable why the Bible would omit any mention of the Anunnaki.